My husband announced at Thanksgiving dinner, my ex is moving in with us. Be mature. So I called her husband. The carving knife was in my hand when Kevin dropped the bomb. It's funny how you remember details like that. The weight of the wooden handle, the candlelight reflecting on the polished steel, the smell of rosemary still clinging to my fingers. I was about to carve the turkey when my husband decided to carve my life in half. So I have an announcement to make. Kevin cleared his throat, that sound he always made before saying something he considered important. Around the table, 10 faces turned to him. My mother, my father, my brother Ben with his new girlfriend, Kevin's parents, his sister. Thanksgiving dinner, an 8-year tradition. I had spent 3 days preparing everything. Cassie is going through a tough time. He paused, as if expecting us all to know who Cassie was. My hand tightened on the knife handle. She and Greg are having problems. And since she has no family here in Portland, I offered her our home. She'll stay in the guest room for a while. The silence that fell over the table had texture. Heavy, suffocating, the kind that makes your ears ring. Cassie. My voice came out strangely calm. Your ex-girlfriend, Cassie. Ex is such a limiting word, Alex. Kevin smiled, that smile he used when explaining technology to people he considered less intelligent. We're friends, mature adults who have moved past the past. I thought you, of all people, would understand that. My mother dropped her fork. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Kevin, dear. Her voice had that dangerously sweet tone. Are you saying your ex-girlfriend, a married woman, is going to live in the house my daughter bought with her grandfather's inheritance money? Oh yes, important detail. The house was mine. Bought 3 years before I met Kevin, with the money my grandfather left me. Kevin had moved in after we got married, sold his apartment, and pocketed the money for investments. Donna, I expected more from you. Kevin sighed. That kind of territorial possessiveness is exactly the problem with traditional relationships. Cassie needs support. She has nowhere to go. She has a husband. My father spoke for the first time, his voice grave. She owns a house in Lake Oswego. I saw it on her Facebook last week. Kevin waved his hand, as if swatting an annoying fly. The situation is complicated. Greg is being difficult. She needs space. And you didn't think it was necessary to discuss this with me beforehand? I asked, still holding that damn knife. I'm telling you now. He picked up his wine glass, completely relaxed. I thought it would be better in a group, so everyone could understand that this is perfectly normal, that there's nothing wrong with helping a friend. My brother Ben coughed. When I looked at him, his eyes were fixed on his plate, jaw clenched. He knew something. I knew that expression. Kevin's son, his own mother seemed uncomfortable. Perhaps you should have spoken with Alexandra first, in private. Why? Kevin leaned back in his chair, master of the situation, so she would have time to create irrational objections, so her jealousy would contaminate a decision that's already made. He looked directly at me. Alex, you always said you trusted me, that you weren't the controlling wife type. Were you lying? There it was, the emotional trigger he always used. He turned me into the villain for having perfectly reasonable feelings. I placed the knife on the table, slowly, carefully. My fingers were numb. When does she arrive? My voice didn't sound like mine. Kevin smiled, victorious. Tomorrow morning. See, I knew you'd understand. It's just temporary, until she and Greg sort things out. Temporary, I repeated. And how long is temporary? A few weeks, a month at most. My mother was looking at me with that expression I knew since childhood, the one that said, say the word and I'll deal with him. But I just shook my head slightly. All right, I said, if it's already decided. The relief on Kevin's face was palpable. He thought he had won, that I had caved, as always. Great. See, everyone? Alex is amazing. So mature and understanding. He raised his glass. A toast to my wonderful wife. Nobody raised a glass. The rest of dinner was silent torture. I smiled, served pumpkin pie, pretended my world wasn't falling apart. But inside, something was changing. A door that had been ajar for years finally swung wide open, and I was seeing things I had refused to acknowledge. The work meetings that lasted until midnight. The messages he deleted too quickly. The way he always made me feel guilty for questioning anything. The investments he made with our money. Money that, in reality, came from my architectural career. When everyone left, Kevin went upstairs to the bedroom, whistling. Satisfied, confident. I stood in the kitchen, looking at the sink full of dirty dishes, and picked up my phone. It wasn't hard to find Gregory Whitmore's number. Corporate lawyer, downtown Portland office, public LinkedIn profile. He answered his cell 24/7, according to his website. It was 10:47 when I dialed. He answered on the third ring. Greg Whitmore. Mr. Whitmore, my name is Alexandra Morrison. My voice was firm now, crystal clear. I'm married to Kevin Morrison. I believe we have something in common. Our spouses are lying to us, and I think we need to talk. The silence on the other end of the line lasted 3 heartbeats. I was expecting this call. His voice was tired, but there was something else. Contained anger. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m.? I have documents you need to see. Documents. My stomach churned. I'll be there. I hung up and looked at the ceiling, where Kevin was probably sleeping soundly, convinced he had manipulated me once again. He had no idea what was about to happen. Neither of them did. I didn't sleep. I lay next to Kevin, listening to his deep, regular breathing, and planned. At 5 a.m., I quietly got up, showered, put on my gray suit, the one I wore for important client meetings, and left a note in the kitchen. Emergency meeting at the office. I'll be back this afternoon. Kevin wouldn't even notice. He never paid real attention to my career. Gregory Whitmore's office was on the 23rd floor of a downtown skyscraper, glass and steel with a view of the Willamette River. The receptionist led me directly to his office. He was waiting. Greg Whitmore was not what I imagined. I expected someone corporate, cold. But the man who stood up to greet me had deep circles under his eyes and hands that trembled slightly as he shook mine. Mrs. Morrison, thank you for coming. He gestured to a leather chair. Coffee? You'll need it. I sat, and he placed a brown folder on the table between us. How long have you known? I asked. 6 months. He opened the folder. I hired a private investigator in May. Cassie was different, distant, lying about where she was. He pushed a photo towards me. This was taken in June. Kevin and Cassie, leaving a hotel in Lake Oswego. His hand was on her lower back. The way she looked at him, I knew that look. Or I thought I did. He used to look at me like that. He used to. There's more, Greg continued, his voice hardening. Much more. But first, I need to ask you, do you have access to your bank accounts? We have separate accounts and a joint one for household expenses. And do you monitor the joint one? Kevin handles that. I transfer my share every month. Greg closed his eyes briefly. How much do you transfer? $3,000 for mortgage, bills, groceries. The house is yours, right? Bought before the marriage? Yes, why? He pushed another document, bank statements. I recognized the joint account number. My eyes scanned the numbers. Withdrawals, hundreds of them. Small enough not to attract individual attention, but together, $87,000. My voice came out hoarse. In the last 2 years. Transferred to an account in his and her name, joint. Greg paused. They're buying a house together, in Bend. They closed the deal last month. The world tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. She's not having problems with you. The words came out of my mouth, but seemed to come from far away. There's no crisis in your marriage? Oh, there's a crisis, but it's not the one he told you about. Greg pulled out more papers. I confronted Cassie 3 weeks ago, filed for divorce. She panicked because the house in Lake Oswego is mine, family inheritance. ironclad prenuptial agreement. She would be left with nothing. So she ran to Kevin. And he, apparently, decided the best strategy was— Greg paused, and for the first time, I saw something akin to bitter humor in his eyes— to make you bankroll his mistress in your own home, using your money to support her while they plan their future together. I should have been crying, screaming, breaking things, but all I felt was a cold clarity, sharp as glass. You said you had documents I needed to see. Greg slid the entire folder to me. Everything is here. Photos, bank statements, text messages my lawyer obtained during discovery, emails discussing how to manage you, how to make you feel guilty for questioning anything. He hesitated. There's a message where he calls you a fat cow who pays the bills. My hand squeezed the folder, not in pain, in pure, distilled rage. What do you want from me? I asked. Revenge. Greg didn't soften. I want them to pay, both of them. And you have something I don't, the element of surprise. Cassie knows I know. Kevin has no idea you know. She arrives at my house today. I know, at 10 a.m., according to their messages. He leaned forward. Alexandra, may I call you Alexandra? I nodded. They're counting on your kindness, on your tendency to avoid conflict. Kevin knows exactly how to manipulate you. It's in his messages to her. Alex always gives in. Alex is afraid of seeming jealous. Alex is easy to control. Every word was a stab, but knives, I was learning, could cut both ways. What do you suggest? Greg smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. That you be the perfect hostess. Welcome Tassie with open arms, make her feel safe, welcome, and meanwhile, he pushed a business card towards me. My divorce lawyer, the best in Portland. He's already preparing your case. Financial fraud, adultery, bad faith. With the house in your name and proof of diverted funds, you'll walk away with everything. And Kevin? Kevin will find out he underestimated the wrong woman. Greg paused. There's one more thing, something I found out yesterday that changes everything. My heart sped up. What? Cassie is pregnant. 10 weeks. The air left my lungs. Does Kevin know? From the messages, yes. They're waiting for the right time to tell you. Probably after she's safe in your house. Greg watched me carefully. Do you have children? No. Kevin always said he wasn't ready, that we needed more financial stability first. Financial stability, Greg repeated bitterly. While he was diverting your money to build a nest for another woman and his child. I stood up. My legs were steady, my mind clearer than it had been in years. Thank you, Greg, for all of this. Where are you going? Home, to prepare the guest room. I picked up the folder. After all, I have a guest arriving. His expression was one of cautious approval. Do you have a plan? I'm developing one. I stopped at the door. You mentioned messages. Are they still communicating? Constantly. Why? Because I want you to send a message to Cassie from your phone saying that you know about the pregnancy, that you're coming to pick her up at my house this afternoon, that you'll sort this out together. Greg frowned. That will scare her. Exactly. I want her to panic. Panicked people make mistakes. I smiled, and it was strange how easily that smile formed. And I want Kevin to see her panic. I want him to see what happens when card castles start to crumble. You're crueler than you seem. No, I corrected. I'm just tired of being kind to people who mistake kindness for weakness. I left the office with the folder under my arm and called my brother Ben. He answered on the first ring. Alex, are you okay? Ben, you knew, didn't you? Yesterday at dinner, you knew something. Silence. Then a heavy sigh. I saw them 2 months ago at the mall. They were together, holding hands. I was going to tell you, but you weren't sure. I understand. And I did understand. Ben, I need a favor. Anything. I need you to come to my house today with a camera and be my witness. Witness to what? The biggest mistake Kevin Morrison has ever made in his life. I arrived home at 9:15 a.m. Kevin was in the kitchen drinking coffee, completely relaxed. He didn't even look up when I entered. "Meeting ended early?" he asked, eyes on his phone. "They canceled," I lied easily. "I thought it better to come back. After all, we have a guest arriving." Now he looked up, genuine surprise on his face. "Really? You're okay with this? You made it quite clear yesterday that my opinion doesn't matter." I placed my bag on the counter. "So I decided to be mature, as you suggested." Kevin got up and hugged me. I allowed it, even though my skin crawled. "I knew you'd understand. You're amazing, Alex. Seriously." I gently pulled away. "I'll get the guest room ready, change the sheets, put out fresh towels." "You don't have to do all that." "Of course I do. She's our guest." I smiled. "I want her to feel at home." I went upstairs with her, feeling Kevin's eyes on our backs. I went upstairs, and as soon as I closed the guest room door, my knees buckled. I sat on the bed, the same bed where my husband's mistress would sleep tonight, and took a deep breath. "You can do this. You're stronger than he thinks, smarter than he imagines." My phone vibrated. Message from Greg. I sent the message. She's panicking. Called Kevin 3 times in the last 5 minutes. Perfect. I mechanically changed the sheets, put plush towels in the bathroom. I even placed fresh flowers on the nightstand, white lilies, my mother's favorites. The scent was strong, cloying. Appropriate. At 9:50 a.m., the doorbell rang. Kevin practically ran to answer. I walked downstairs slowly, each step calculated. Cassandra Whitmore was pretty. Shoulder-length blonde hair, blue eyes, a nervous smile. She wore a loose dress, hiding her belly, I realized, and carried a small suitcase. "Alex," Kevin called to me, his arm around Cassie's shoulders. "This is Cassie. Cassie, my wife, Alexandra." "Hi." Cassie extended her hand, her voice soft. "Thank you so much for having me. I know this is unusual, but I'm truly grateful." "I can imagine how difficult this must be for you," I said, my voice full of false sympathy. "Marital problems are terrible, but make yourself at home. Our house is your house." "Our house," I emphasized the pronoun. I saw Kevin stiffen slightly. "Let me show you to your room." I picked up her suitcase. Too light for someone planning to stay a few weeks. "Kevin, darling, can you make some fresh coffee? I'm sure Cassie wants to settle in." I went upstairs with her, feeling Kevin's eyes on our backs. In the room, Cassie looked around nervously. "It's beautiful. Thank you so much." "No problem." I placed the suitcase on the bed. "Cassie, can I ask you a personal question?" She froze. "Of course." "You and Greg, did you try couples therapy before giving up?" Her eyes widened. It's complicated." "I imagine." I sat on the bed, patting the space next to me. "Sit here. Let's talk, woman to woman." She sat, reluctantly. "Look, I understand that you and Kevin are old friends. He told me about you two." A lie. Kevin barely mentioned her. "And I really want to help you, but I need to understand the whole situation to do it right." Cassie looked at me, trying to read something on my face. I kept my expression open, friendly. "Greg is being impossible," she began, her voice cracking. "He wants a divorce. He won't even talk. And I have nowhere to go. My family is all from California, And you're pregnant." I dropped it. The blood drained from her face. "How did Kevin tell you?" "No." I stood up, walking to the window. "The husband of whom you are pregnant told me." Silence. So dense I could feel its weight. "Alex, I can explain." "Can you?" I turned to her. "Explain then. Explain how you and my husband have been having an affair for over a year, how you bought a house together in Bend, how he siphoned almost $90,000 from our account to finance your future." Cassie was standing now, backing away. "You don't understand." "No, I understand perfectly." My voice was calm, icy. You thought I was an idiot, that I would welcome you with open arms, feed you, give you shelter, while you carry my husband's child and plan your happy future? It's not like that. Then how is it? I took a step towards her. Enlighten me, Cassie. How exactly does it work in your head? Did you really think I would bankroll my husband's mistress in my own house? The door opened. Kevin entered, a smile on his face. The coffee is... He stopped, seeing our expressions. What's going on? Cassie whispered. Kevin, she knows everything. I saw the moment his brain processed it. The denial, the anger, the desperate search for an out. Alex, let me explain. No, I raised my hand. There's no explanation. There are only facts. And the facts are, you're having an affair, you stole from me, you bought a house with her, and she's pregnant with your child. Kevin looked at Cassie, furious. Did you tell her? She didn't have to. I stepped between them. Her husband told me. This morning. In his office, where he showed me photos, bank statements, text messages. Everything. The color drained from Kevin's face. Greg? You talked to Greg? I did. And with his lawyer, who, by the way, is now my lawyer too. I crossed my arms. You know what's funny, Kevin? You called me a fat cow who pays the bills in your messages to her. But this fat cow owns this house. And this fat cow has proof of financial fraud that will destroy you in the divorce. Divorce? He took a step forward. Alex, you're being irrational. Irrational? I laughed without humor. You announced yesterday in front of my family that your pregnant mistress was moving in here, and I'm irrational? Cassie was crying now. Kevin, you said she would understand, that she was understanding. Shut up, Kevin yelled at her, then looked at me. Alex, please, we can talk about this. Rationally, we're adults. Adults, I repeated. Adults don't lie, don't steal, don't betray. I walked to the door. You both have 1 hour to get out of my house. This is my house too, Kevin yelled. No, it's not. It's in my name, bought with my money. You never paid a single cent of the mortgage. I stopped at the door. Oh, and Kevin, your friend Ben is downstairs with a camera, recording everything since Cassie arrived. Every word, every admission. The panic on his face was almost comical. You can't do this. I can, and I did. I started walking downstairs. 1 hour. After that, I'm calling the police. I went downstairs and found Ben in the living room, camera in hand, a grim expression. Did you get everything? I asked. Every second. He hugged me tight. You were incredible. It's not over yet. I looked up, where Kevin and Cassie were arguing, their voices loud and desperate. There's still one more revelation, the one that will destroy everything. Ben frowned. What do you mean? I smiled, and this time, it was real, sharp as a blade. You'll see. Kevin came downstairs 15 minutes later, face red, veins bulging in his neck. Cassie followed him, makeup smudged, suitcase in hand. You're going to regret this, he spat the words. I'll sue you for everything. You'll what? I interrupted, still sitting calmly on the couch. Sue me with what money, Kevin? The money you stole from me, which is already documented? Or will you use the money from the house you and she bought with fraudulently diverted funds? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Oh, wait, I pretended to think. Are you going to use the money from the investments you always told me you were making, the ones that never existed? Cassie pulled his arm. Kevin, let's go. This isn't worth it. Isn't worth it? He turned to her, and for the first time, I saw his mask completely fall. I lost everything because of you. My house, my marriage, everything. Your house? Her voice rose. You said it was ours, that she meant nothing, that you were going to divorce her anyway. I was, but on my time, not with you forcing everything because your husband found out. They were shouting at each other now, completely forgetting that Ben and I were there. His camera kept recording. Forcing? Cassie threw her suitcase on the floor. You got me pregnant. You said you wanted a family, that she was cold, that she never wanted kids. That hit me like a punch. I always wanted children. Kevin was the one who always put it off. I said what you wanted to hear, Kevin yelled, just like I said to her. You two are so desperate for validation that you'll believe anything. The silence that followed was absolute. Cassie stared at him, tears streaming. You don't want the baby? I don't want any of this, he gestured wildly. I wanted the house in Bend. I wanted freedom. I wanted a life without responsibilities. And you, he pointed at her, you were supposed to be easy. No strings attached, no drama. No strings attached, Cassie repeated, her voice dead. I left my husband for you, lost my house. I'm pregnant. And I was no strings attached? Kevin ran his hand through his hair, breathing heavily. Cassie, I didn't mean… No, she raised her hand. You meant exactly that. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something beyond antagonism, recognition. He did the same thing to you, didn't he? Made you feel special, made you believe you were different. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. How many? Cassie asked, still looking at me. How many before me? The question hung in the air. I saw Kevin freeze. Answer, Kevin. My voice cut through the silence. How many? This is ridiculous. How many? Cassie and I shouted together. He backed away, leaning against the wall. And then, perhaps because he had nothing left to lose, or perhaps because he was finally tired of lying, he laughed. A bitter, empty laugh. You want to know? Do you really want to know? He looked at me. 7. 7 in 8 years of marriage. Some lasted months, others just weeks. Cassie was just the most recent, the one that got complicated because she got pregnant. The world tilted. 7. 7. And you, he pointed at me, you with your beautiful house, your inheritance money, your successful career, you were perfect, stable, the foundation I needed while I had fun. Ben stepped forward, but I held his arm. Continue, I said, my voice eerily calm. I want to hear everything. Kevin laughed again. Why? So you can play the victim? You loved being the understanding wife. You loved feeling superior, mature, evolved. I gave you exactly what you wanted, the illusion of a perfect marriage. Illusion, I repeated. 8 years of illusion? 8 years of you being naive enough to believe. He pushed himself off the wall. And you know what? I don't regret it. Not one bit. You made it too easy. Something inside me broke. Not from sadness, from liberation. You're right, I said, and saw surprise on his face. I made it easy. I believed you. I trusted you. I loved you. I took a step towards him. But do you know the difference between us, Kevin? He didn't answer. I can learn. I can grow. I can become stronger. Another step. You'll always be this. An empty man who needs validation from women he despises. And now, I smiled, now you have nothing. No house, no wife. No money. I have the house in Bend. No, you don't. The voice came from the door. Greg Whitmore entered. Impeccable suit, stern expression. The house was bought with fraudulent funds. My lawyer has already filed a lawsuit. It will be confiscated. Kevin paled. You can't. I can, and I will. Greg looked at Cassie. You have 5 minutes to decide. Come back with me, accept the couples therapy I proposed, and we raise this baby together. Or, he paused, or you go with him, and you lose everything. The house, the alimony, any chance of shared custody. Cassie looked between Greg and Kevin, tears streaming. Cass, don't listen to him, Kevin began. Shut up, she said, her voice broken but firm. Just shut up. She looked at Greg. Do you still want me? After everything? I want my son, Greg replied, and I want to try and save my marriage, if you want to too. I do, Cassie whispered. God, I do. She walked to Greg, and he wrapped her in his arms. Over his shoulder, she looked at me. I'm so sorry, for everything. Me too, I replied, and it was true. Not for her, for me, for the lost years. They left, leaving Kevin alone in the middle of my living room. Alex, he began, his voice finally breaking. Please, don't do this. We can... No, I cut him off. There's no us. There never was, I realize now. I picked up my phone. You have 10 minutes to leave. After that, I'm calling the police. You're going to leave me with nothing? No, I corrected. You left yourself with nothing. I'm just accelerating the inevitable. He stood there for another moment, searching my face for something. Weakness? Hesitation? He found nothing. You'll regret this, he said, picking up his jacket. When you're alone, old, with no one, I'll be free, I interrupted. And that's infinitely better than being trapped with you. He left, slamming the door. The sound echoed through the empty house. Ben turned off the camera. Are you okay? No. I sat on the couch, my hands finally trembling. But I will be. My phone rang. My mother. Hi, Mom. I saw his car leaving. Is it true? Is it over? It's over. She sighed, long and relieved. Thank God. I'm coming over, with apple pie. I hung up and looked around my house, without Kevin, without lies. Empty, but mine. And for the first time in 8 years, I breathed completely. 3 months later, I was at the lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. Kevin didn't show up. He signed by proxy, coward until the end. Congratulations, Mrs. Morrison, or should I say, Miss Hayes? I had gone back to my maiden name. Hayes is great. I left the office for a sunny February day. Portland was surprisingly clear, the kind of day that makes you believe in new beginnings. My phone vibrated. Message from Greg. Cassie had the baby. Boy, 3.2 kilograms. We're trying, one day at a time. I replied, congratulations. I wish the best for all 3 of you. And I did wish it, genuinely. Cassie had made terrible choices, but she was trying to fix things. That was more than Kevin would ever do. Speaking of Kevin, he was living with his parents in Beaverton. Unemployed, he had been fired when the fraud investigation reached his company. Penniless, everything he had went to pay lawyers and try to avoid criminal charges. No future. His reputation was destroyed. I should feel satisfaction, revenge, but all I felt was emptiness. Not sadness, just the absence of something that had occupied so much space for so long. Alex! A voice pulled me from my thoughts. Ben was running down the sidewalk. You did it! I did. I showed him the papers. Officially divorced. He hugged me tight. How are you feeling? Honestly, I don't know. We started walking. It's strange. 8 years of my life, and now it's just paper. A signature. It's over. It's not just paper, Ben said softly. It's freedom. Freedom. A beautiful word. Scary, too. In the months since that Thanksgiving Day, I still thought of it in capital letters, I had changed. Not overnight, not in some cinematic transformation, but in small, painful, and necessary steps. Therapy. Twice a week at first, now once. Learning to recognize patterns. How I had let Kevin gradually diminish me, so slowly I didn't even notice. How I had confused understanding with doormat. How I was afraid of being the jealous wife and ended up being the betrayed wife. It wasn't your fault, my therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, repeated every session. He chose to betray. He chose to lie. You chose to trust. These are not equivalent choices. But there were things that were my responsibility. Recognizing the signs I ignored, the red flags I painted green, the discomfort I swallowed because I didn't want to cause drama. You're learning to listen to your intuition, Dr. Chen had said in the last session, that voice that warned you, but you silenced. You're learning that your feelings are valid, that setting boundaries isn't being controlling, it's being healthy. My career had exploded. Funny how, without Kevin draining my emotional and financial energy, I had room to grow. 3 new contracts, a promotion, recognition in an architecture magazine. "You're shining," my business partner had commented. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." What I was doing was simple, living for myself. Not to please, not to prove, just living. The house was different now. I had repainted, colors I liked, not the neutral ones Kevin insisted on. I had filled it with plants, adopted a fat orange cat named Muffin, transformed the guest room, that room, into a studio where I drew on weekends. "Are you dating anyone?" my mother asked every week. "No, Mom, not yet." "But are you open to it?" Was I? I don't know. The idea of trusting someone again, of opening my heart, terrified me. But the idea of being alone forever wasn't appealing either. "You don't have to decide now," Dr. Chen had said. "Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong, others you'll feel broken. Both are valid." And it was true. There were days when I woke up powerful, invincible. Days when I looked in the mirror and saw a survivor, a woman who had faced betrayal, humiliation, loss, and come out the other side. And there were days when I woke up and cried in the shower, days when I saw couples holding hands and felt a physical pain, days when I wondered if something was wrong with me, if I was incapable of being loved. "Nothing is wrong with you," Ben repeated whenever I voiced those doubts. "Kevin was the problem, not you." My family had been incredible. Mom came every week with food. Dad had fixed everything that needed fixing in the house, and some things that didn't, just to have an excuse to stay. Ben had become my true best friend, not just my brother. "Family isn't about blood," I had told him one night after a few glasses of wine. "It's about who stays when everything falls apart." "We'll always stay," he had replied. Now, walking with him down the street, divorce papers in my bag, I felt not happy exactly, but at peace, as if a weight I had carried for years had finally been lifted. "Want to have lunch?" Ben asked. "Celebrate?" "Actually," I hesitated, "I want to go somewhere." "Where?" "You'll see." I drove to the cemetery where my grandfather was buried, the man who had left me the inheritance that bought my house, the house that had saved me. I knelt in front of his gravestone. "Hi, Grandpa." My voice broke. "I know you can't hear me, but I need to thank you. That house, you had no idea, but it saved me. It gave me a foundation, a place of my own, and today, finally, it's just mine again." The wind blew, rustling the trees. I imagined it was him, saying he was proud. "I'll be okay," I promised. "It'll take time, but I'll be okay." Ben helped me up. "He would be proud of you, the way you handled everything." "Do you think so?" "I know." We got back in the car, and as I drove home, my fortress, my fresh start, I thought about everything that had happened. Kevin had underestimated me. He had thought I was weak, easily manipulated, incapable of fighting. He was wrong. Cassie had seen me as an obstacle, something to be circumvented. She was wrong too. I wasn't perfect. I had made mistakes, ignored signs, allowed myself to be diminished. But I was learning, growing, becoming someone who would never again allow herself to be treated that way. "And you?" I imagined Dr. Chen asking. "Who do you want to be now?" I wanted to be honest, vulnerable, but not naive, confident, but not blind, open to love, but not desperate for it. I wanted to be someone who set boundaries and kept them, who listened to her intuition, who wasn't afraid to be alone because she knew loneliness was better than toxic company. I wanted to be free. And for the first time in 8 years, I was. I arrived home as the sun was setting. Muffin greeted me at the door, meowing indignantly at my delay. I picked him up, buried my face in his soft fur, and finally let the tears come. They weren't tears of sadness. They were of relief, of liberation, of grief for lost time, but also of hope for the time to come. "It's over," I whispered to Muffin. "It's really over." And it was true. The Kevin Morrison chapter of my life was closed, sealed, filed away. The next chapter was blank, waiting to be written. And this time, I would be the sole author. This story shows us that sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who betray us the most. But it also shows us that we are stronger than we imagine, that we can survive the unthinkable and come out on the other side not only intact, but better. Family isn't about blood. It's about who chooses to stay when everything falls apart. And sometimes the person who needs to stay for you is yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean accepting the unacceptable. It means freeing yourself from the weight of anger. It means choosing your peace over revenge. It means recognizing that some people don't deserve space in your life, no matter how much time you've invested in them. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any emotional stories. Leave in the comments, have you been through something similar? How did you find the strength to start over? And always remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every day, without hesitation, without games. If someone makes you question your worth, that person doesn't deserve you. You are stronger than you imagine, and your fresh start is waiting. Which do you value more, loyalty or honesty? Leave your answer in the comments.